Hello, ham radio friends. I'm Larry Woodworth, W0 Hotel X-Ray Sierra. This presentation is about Marshall H. Ensor, W9 Bravo Sierra Papa, and Loretta Ensor, W9 United Alpha, both licensed 50 years. The museum was the lifelong home of Marshall H. Ensor, who lived from 1899 to 1970, and sister Loretta Ensor, who lived from 1904 to 1991. Mr. Ensor was an historic figure in amateur radio. From his early years growing up on the dairy farm near Olathe, Kansas, Marshall was excited by the prospects of radio communications. By age 15, after earlier crystal sets and learning the Continental Code using the 1911 Omnigraph, a mechanical device similar to later record players, he then built an early wireless spark station, using it with 20-mile success before World War I. Marshall excelled at manual arts and upon graduation was offered work as the instructor of manual arts at the Olathe High School, his work for 46 years until retirement in 1965. He and Loretta planned on their home becoming a museum. Loretta completed the task shortly after his death in 1970. During his first years of teaching, radio flourished, and he became 9BSP in 1922. His first tube station was battery-operated and was in a secretary desk in the kitchen. Within a couple years, Marshall built a small but adequate radio room on the side of the house beside the kitchen and accessible from the front porch or the kitchen. His sister Loretta, who was 5 years younger, in 1923 at age 16 licensed 9UA as trustee of Marshall's Olathe High School Radio Electric Club. As manual arts teacher, he trained woodworkers, welders, photographers, draftsmen, and many other trades. Years of progressive updates in his 9BSP station took place. A motor generator allowed for more power. The two 90-foot towers held both cage and ZEP antennas. A steady influx of postcards and QSL cards arrived. Then good luck smiled on Marshall when the ARRL in the fall of 1929 asked for volunteer operators to use their equipment to teach radio listeners across America how to become licensed amateur radio operators. Marshall quickly complied that winter. Using his updated W9 BSP call, he began a decade of teaching an estimated 10,000 radio listeners the Continental Code and theory, enabling them to gain amateur license to legally operate. The lesson plan was to give 62 one-hour nightly lessons in code and technical information through December and January each year from 1929 until 1939. Loretta often helped lessons if he couldn't be there for any reason. Marshall's 1940 168-page master's thesis was entitled Teaching Radio by Radio, a step-by-step dialogue of his annual 2-month-long radio lessons. He used his home-built equipment on 1903 kilocycles of the 160-meter band. His last transmitter, built in 1937, doubled his power to a kilowatt of AM and modulated CW, enabling home listeners to copy CW at the top end of the broadcast band. A large number of his unseen students became our professional radio engineers, electronic specialists, and military radio men during World War II. Then, a defining moment arrived for Marshall H. Ensor. In 1941, partly due to the ARRL nomination, Mr. William S. Paley, head of the CBS broadcast stations, would bestow the 1940 Paley Award upon Marshall Ensor, W9BSP. Marshall and sister Loretta, because she also helped, were flown to New York City Waldorf Astoria Hotel, where a very large banquet was held to see Ensor receive the award for his generous service to America through the effort to gain radio operators and technicians for industry, military needs. Many dignitaries from government, military, and industry were present, along with many news services. Back in Olathe, Kansas, things were very slow to become normal. We were at war with Japan, and Marshall, a Navy reservist, wanted to serve in the U.S. Navy, but his application went nowhere until a year went by when some bright officer saw Marshall's resume. He saw to it that this knowledgeable teacher would have a chance to serve. Marshall became a radio officer at the Seattle Naval Air Station. So from 1943 to 1946, Marshall helped the war effort. He had married before the war, and he and wife Ina took a house in Olathe until his death in 1970. Loretta never married and didn't renew her 1972 license, but remained a farm girl until 1991. The farm site has gone on to become the Ensor Park and Museum, the name that they chose. In 2002, our radio group became users of the gorgeous tree-lined museum grounds for annual field day operation. Both of Marshall Ensor's hand-built radios are now back to operable after over 40 years of nature's abuse, thanks to the willing effort of retired 1940 Ensor student Harry Kraut, WØHXS, a kind gentleman who retired from electronic technician work just as we met and welcomed his offer to have them work again as he remembered them back when. Harry went home in 2014. His son Joe, W0PWJ, helped his dad in the restoration effort and has been our club trustee since 2005. He and I and some others put W9BSP back on the air December 5th, 2013.
Built by Marshall Ensor and used for code practice and license instruction in the 1930s. Built in 1937 and used up until 1941. After the end of World War II, the station was brought back on the air and operated up until 1972. So this transmitter has been off the air now for 40 years. And we have just completed a working restoration on it. This is our special event to put it back on the air. We're running a pair of 822s modulated by a second pair of 822s, crystal controlled using a 6L6 oscillator through a couple of amplifying stages. This is W9BSP Ensor Museum of Olathe, Kansas.
I kept a log during this contact of Joe's. Best to all in 73s. This is Larry Woodworth, W0 Hotel X-Ray Sierra.